Hello, I'm Gary Quinn, and welcome to another episode of Ready, Set, Live. My guest today is the talented Stefanie Powers, an actress, writer, author, and passionate animal advocate. Stefanie's career began at 15, dancing for Jerome Robbins, and she went on to star in over 31 films. Her first television series, The Girl from U.N.C.L.E., marked a milestone in U.S. television history as the first hour-long series featuring a female in a leading role. Her television career includes over 25 miniseries, 200 episodic, 35 movies for television, and 2 television series, Feather and Father, and the long-running Heart to Heart, starring opposite Robert Wagner, now celebrating its 45th anniversary. She's an accomplished screenwriter and author of One from the Heart, and the founder of the William Holden Wildlife Foundation, focused on animal preservation. Don't go away. I'll be right back with the extraordinary Stefanie Powers. Welcome to the show, Stefanie.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gary.
You know, you have such a trailblazer, let's say, energy of just continuing to work, which it's your light, you know, and I tell that with people, you know, your success is based on your energy. What was it as a 15-year-old going to audition for Jerome that was it an intention, or you said I'm going to get into showbiz, or you were dancing? What was the catalyst?
Well, we would never dare to call him Jerome.
Oh, okay, Mr.
Mr. Rob.
Yes.
Absolutely. First of all, let me try to explain that the Hollywood I grew up in was a very small town, and people were connected to the movie industry. They were connected in many, many ways, not the least of which was for their children. They wanted their children to grow up with certain grace, and especially girls. And so if there was a great ballet teacher from the Ballet Ruth in Monte Carlo, everybody wanted their daughters to go there. And in fact, even the professionals would take ballet class at Michel Panaev's. So in our little ballet class were 3 girls. I think I was about 6 or 7, something like that. And there's a kind of wonderful photograph of our ballet class. Who knew in those days that all of us would wind up married to Robert Wagner in one way or another? Because the class consisted of Natalie Wood, Jill St. John, and me, somewhere down there.
Wow. And then as you progressed,
I should finish my thought.
Oh, sorry.
So the idea that going to dance school would lead to auditions was something kind of natural for that sort of milieu. And they would post, by then I was studying jazz at the American School of Dance, which was on Hollywood Boulevard, before they, built the Kodak Center. And, or what's it called now? I can't remember.
The Dolby.
The Dolby Center. So they used to post all of the auditions for traveling shows and movies and performances that were needing dancers. And I was very tall for my age. I was about as tall as I am now. When I was 15, I just shot up like a rocket. So one day there was I had a girlfriend who was 17, and she could drive, and she had a car, and so the two of us used to go on auditions together, and we were both very tall, and I guess they never look at dancers' faces, they only look at their bodies or their movement. So they used to keep us to the end, and then the girl with the clipboard would come around and say, "How old are you?" And she'd get very upset because, of course, we had stayed till the end, and she missed two other dancers. So we were then told to exit very quickly. And in that same vein, we went to an audition for the movie West Side Story. There were hundreds of dancers that day. And as it was, we were both called back to come to more auditions. I wound up doing 16 dance auditions and 3 screen tests before they asked if I could get my working papers, my working permit, and get a parent or guardian to come with me to start rehearsals. So I was all of a sudden a part of this extraordinary production. I was Jet. I had the part of Velma.
Uh-huh.
And after almost about 2.5 months of rehearsals, they realized that I was not old enough to work all the necessary hours. So I was replaced. I was replaced by the wonderful dancer Carol DeAndrea, who had done the part before and was quite right. I was way too young for that part. Anyway, it was an extraordinary experience that I wouldn't trade for the world. Every once in a while, I see some of the dancers, the old West Side Story alumni.
Uh-huh.
And George Takaris is a very good friend of
Yes.
mine. And so we see each other and keep that flame going. But it wasn't that unusual that I should have gone to an audition.
Wow. But I think dancers have this innate, if you look at their background, Anne Bancroft, Shirley MacLaine. I met Toni Basil at the health food store.
Tony's
she's still dancing like crazy.
Of course she does.
Amazing.
She dances every day. She has a studio behind her house.
Yes. So how was it that you got into the studio system? Because I find the studio system so interesting. You were at the tail end, right?
Yes, I was in the studio system was in the twilight of its existence, because in 1949, the United States government deemed that the motion picture industry was a monopoly because they made the product, they distributed the product, and they exhibited the product, sort of like Apple, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
It doesn't get accused.
So did they just? Stephanie, they signed you and said, "Okay, you're going to be in."
No, I was. I did a little when I was fired from West Side Story. I met a young actor, director, writer who was making a independent film. His name was Tom Laughlin. He then became rather famous because of a movie that he did called Billy Jack.
Mm-hmm.
But he liked to work with people who hadn't had much experience, and that was me. So he asked me to read for him, and then we went away and did this movie in Wisconsin, in Madison, Wisconsin, and it was shown around, most particularly by Tom's great patron, who was Jerry Wald, a very large producer. I mean, he was a very well-known producer at 20th Century Fox. So I was invited to go to 20th Century Fox and join the contract players in the acting classes. I was also then invited to go to MGM and join the contract players in the acting classes, and to Columbia Pictures to do the same thing, because in those days, you as a young actor would go to these wonderful classes, then you would prepare a scene for the casting department to see, and if they liked the scene, they would order a screen test, and then they would show that to everybody at the studio, and if you were they were interested in you, they would offer you a contract, and that's how it worked. So given that I was late for class at Columbia, I was running through the hallways where they had some swinging doors, and I pushed a door right into the face of a man who was wearing the same sunglasses that I was. Now, these sunglasses were very special because they had been the absolute last thing, chicest thing on the French Riviera at that moment. And in those days, if something was that moment, the chic thing of the moment, it would take about 3 years to get to California. So he said to me, and I was wearing the same glasses. So he said to me, "Where did you get those glasses?" And I said, "Well, my friend was driving in the Monte Carlo rally and he brought them to me." I said, "Where did you get yours?" And he said, "I was at the Monte Carlo." He said, "What do you do here?" And I said, "Well, I'm an actress." He said, "Really? Are you any good?" And nobody had ever asked me that before. And I said, "Well, sure. Yes, I am." He said, "Well, you should come and see me. I'm making a movie here." And I said, "Well, I'm late for class." He said, "All right, come after class. I'm on the 4th floor, and my name is Blake Edwards."
Wow.
So that was the beginning. He asked me to screen test for as the Lee Remick's sister in a movie that he was doing at Columbia called Experiment in Terror. And I was put under contract.
Stephanie, that meeting with Blake Edwards, I think, is spiritual synchronicity. You know, I think if you go looking in your timeline and you say this door opened, this one closed, being fired from, West Side.
That story.
Yes. And then all of a sudden.
One door closed and another one opened.
Exactly. So that must have been such an incredible time in the studio system to really learn. They were teaching you all kinds of things, right? Not only acting, diction.
Well, they did. They had that all available to
us.
But they put me to work straight away.
All right.
They just, I did 15 motion pictures, 3 pictures a year for 5 years, which is a lot of work.
You were busy.
Yes.
Now, along the way, did you find that because you were a woman, was there any kind of cat fights or animosity of other people who were jealous that you were, or was it a different time then?
No, I didn't experience that.
All right.
I didn't experience the casting couch. I didn't experience, everything was very pleasant. I was a kid,
Right.
So people were rather nice and patient with me.
So moving fast forward, because I know we have a time element, it's the 45th anniversary of Heart to Heart.
Well, it's the 45th anniversary of when we did the pilot.
Okay.
Of Heart to Heart. So its existence in total is 45 years ago. It sprouted wings 45 years ago.
And so many people have loved that series. It just goes on. I mean, what that experience, would you sum it up in a few words? What would you say?
Well, it was one of the most important experiences of my life and my career. It came at a very interesting time, I think, for both of us, for both RJ and myself. And it doesn't always follow suit that if you know somebody, you're going to have a rapport working together. But we were just really lucky. So whatever it was, I'd like to bottle it. And I would make a fortune.
During these times that you were working, is there a practice you did, meditation, or you sort of not let anything affect you? Because, sometimes people can, be strange to newcomers, but you weren't a newcomer. You were someone
I wasn't a newcomer by then. No, I had quite a lot of experience under my belt.
All right.
And no, it was, we both grew up in the business. We understood what the responsibilities were. We understood that we were being paid to hit our marks and know our lines and show up on time. And we did. Both RJ and myself were raised in the movie business from teenage. He was 19 when he went under contract to 20th Century Fox, and I was 16 when I had my 17th birthday on the movie Experiment in Terror.
Is there anything, Stephanie, that you do as a ritual in your day? Something that you meditate, you.
No, I'm too busy. Meditation is wonderful at certain times in your life. I'm very involved with well, my horses and with the operations of the William Holden Wildlife Foundation. I'm the founder and the president and the chief, how shall I say, fundraiser.
Okay.
So it's quite an involved operation. We have an education center in Kenya attached to, it was formerly attached to the Mount Kenya Game Ranch, which Bill created in 1959, before anybody had the word conservation in their vocabulary. Bill was a visionary when it came to wildlife, certainly in Kenya, and the notion that the numbers of herds would be greatly diminished as the population, the human population, began to encroach upon the wildlife areas. And that he had this extraordinary vision that was way ahead of his time.
Yes.
So understanding that in building this game ranch, he was preserving 37 species of East African wildlife in nucleus breeding herds. And the one thing that Bill wanted to do more than anything else was he wanted to build a wildlife education center for local people so they could come and learn about their flora and fauna and why it was important for them to understand the food chain and its importance to their own existence. So that you didn't just say, don't cut that tree down, but you explained why and the entire ripple effect of cutting that tree down. So we serve, after Bill's death in 1981, I created the William Holden Wildlife Foundation to actually bring to fruition what Bill had imagined all those years ago. While he was alive, he walked the territory, the 15 acres on which he wanted to build the education center. So we knew a great deal about what he wanted to do. And after he died, I put it into the works. And today we service and have for many, many years. We got our IRS status as a public charity in 1982. And today, and for many years, as I said, we are serving about 11,000 students a year in our main education center. And then we have an outreach program in 7 locations where we deal with another 6,500 people on a continual basis. Our mission statement is wildlife conservation through education and alternatives to habitat destruction. Now, that second half of the mission statement is what occupies me more than ever. Because if we want to, as individually or collectively, try to do something about climate change and about the disasters that the climate change is creating on our planet, in our cities, in our backyards. Now we know because of the fires in Los Angeles how virulent it all really is. So we decided to dedicate ourselves to the regeneration of areas that had been over-chemicalized through poor farming methods and bring it back to life to provide habitat for the full spectrum of flora and fauna and biodiversity, as well as with subsistence farmers who need all the land they can get to just feed themselves and have some kind of a cash crop to sell. But since they overuse the chemicals, they burn out their land. So it's for them, they thought it was unrecoverable. But we show them ways that they can recover it and that the land can provide them with not only constant food, but the ability to sequester carbon and to sequester moisture. So it's a technique which we have actively been pursuing in 7 locations. We're now we've become affiliated with a number of universities in the United States and in England and invited some prospects who are studying these sorts of techniques in as their thesis for their master's degree or their PhD. So we've got two master's degree candidates that will be coming to us in the fall.
Stephanie, do you actually, the animals that are in the sanctuary, are they actually bred, or is it just the saving of the species? How does that work if you know there's a species that's endangered?
Well, first of all, there's a game department and there are game reserves, which the government runs. These animals that are still on the Mount Kenya Game Ranch, which is now a conservancy, are generational, the results of generational breeding, captive breeding in the safety of this wonderful game ranch. But that's not mine anymore in total. Right. It now belongs to a new generation, and it's an African businessman who bought the game ranch and is carrying on with some of the breeding programs.
Wow, what a brilliant ride you've been working on, all these projects. If you had an opportunity on a bucket list of something you haven't done yet, what would that be?
It was hard to say. I just like to continue doing all the things that I've been doing. Unfortunately, many of the places that I've been are no longer safe to go to, so I can't go back there. But I would like to continue there. I have always wanted to. Egyptology was always a passion of mine, and as a child, I used to read about all the discoveries, the digs that were going on in Egypt, Upper and Lower Egypt. And now the Egyptian government and the Egyptian Department of Archaeology has produced some extraordinary professors and some extraordinary scientists who are doing major work at the necropolises that have been discovered quite recently. And I want to go out and join some of those digs. I like to get my fingers dirty. My nails are short. I prefer them that way.
Well, I am so happy for you, and I know that great things are coming, even better opportunities, and you're just a bright light in the universe, and I wish you great...
Very kind, Gary. Thank you very much. I would like to mention to your listeners, viewers, fans, that there's more information to be had at our website, which is www, and then the acronym for William Holden Wildlife Foundation, which is, of course, WHWF.org. And I hope that you will you who are watching, please look at our website and see if there's anything that interests you. We've got quite a lot of things going on.
Wonderful, Steph. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with me. And I know everything is going to be wonderful in Africa for you and all the wonderful things that are coming to you.
Thank you. Your mouth to God's ear.
I'm Gary Quinn. Thank you for joining me on this special edition. Until next time, be well.